Welcome to the Flex Forward podcast, where grit meets growth. With your host, Nic Espanet, bringing you stories of resilience, reinvention, and the real climb to success.
Welcome, everyone. Today we're joined by Lane Kawaoka, and I hope I got that right. It's a wonderful Hawaiian name. Lane and I have known each other since probably about 2016. We were part of a real estate investment group. Lane is actually probably one of the first people I knew that had a podcast, somewhere around maybe 16, 17, 18. So, I know he's had a lot of success. I'm glad to have him join me. Lane was an engineer in Hawaii, and I think some in the West Coast of the United States doing construction, civil engineering type stuff. He's also now has his company as the Wealth Elevator, so I'll let him expand on that more. But Lane, can you give us a kind of a more detailed background and a snapshot of what you're doing in the world right now?
Yeah, I mean, today we run apartment deals and now private equity, now that real estate's a little bit more difficult due to interest rates. My story started being a ex-engineer, bought a house to live in, and then bought a bunch of turnkey rentals back in 2010 is when I started. Did that up to 2015, got up to 11 single family homes, realized it wasn't scalable. Then that's where I met folks like yourself. And I think we all kind of drank the Kool-Aid there about multifamily and commercial real estate. And yeah, that was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that's been coming up on 10 years next spring that I started my journey in the multifamily world. I started around March or so of 16. So half a year will be a decade. So that's crazy. So there's a lot of competition out there, and you've been able to have longevity and in the real estate world and space. So what sets you apart in that area, or what comes easy for you that others might find challenging within that area?
Yeah, I mean, it's been difficult times, right? If you're kind of thinking of water coming in and out of a harbor, the water being synonymous with the market, which in particular for us, it's interest rates. Interest rates is a buzzkill for all of us deal makers. I think if anything, I mean, to no contribution to my own success, I mean, I kind of just got lucky. I just, we got some traction early 2018, especially going into 2020, that we were able to, keep riding, and we were able to diversify our portfolio to kind of stay alive through this, 21 to 23 was, we now know as a Monday morning quarterback, armchair quarterback, that was the peak of the market.
2020, right? Yeah. It's easy to see now looking backwards.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So, through that time, what kind of things did you do? Do you have any trainings or books, something like that you feel like elevated you a little bit, or maybe even things you're working on now that you would recommend to some of the listeners?
Yeah, I mean, you go through the growth periods, and everything comes easy during that time. As the saying goes, the water floats all boats. But we run into tough times. You have to run leaner. I have to take on a lot of the operational things. And it's actually kind of identified the things I don't like to do or don't do as well, and trying to find things that I do well. I'm kind of getting into my 40s now, and I'm kind of thinking like, all right, I've spent the time in my 20s and 30s learning a bunch of stuff, trying it out, because I can't just say, oh, this is hard, this sucks, I'm not going to apply myself even up, learn. But now I'm getting to a point where like I need to figure out what I do well, right? As opposed to just, running not within resonance frequency. I always talk about like the toothbrush, the Sonicare toothbrush.
Yeah.
The reason why that thing works so well and it's energy efficient is because it kind of is like a tuning fork. It goes, It buzzes at that certain frequency. And I was kind of thinking I need to find mine. But something, to give people something tangible, like, in EOS is something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of founders will use. There's a handful of other operating systems, but no better. I don't think it's no better than others out there, but it has this concept of you have integrators and you have visionaries. The visionary
I'm familiar with it.
Is oftentimes the person that's kind of a dime a dozen. Everybody's got good ideas, but it's the operator is the one that's a little bit more difficult to find. And so I've kind of found myself, I've always thought myself creative. I guess, thinking outside the box, but I have sort of self-identified myself as more of an operator in the weeds, building SOPs, but within that box, being somewhat creative, I guess. But
Kind of
I,
utilizing both. I'm thinking there's a book like it talks about it's the 5 gears on it. I've gone blank
oh
on it.
yeah. I think I just actually did that test. I'm
There's the
in.
integrator. There's the creative type. It's like the 5 working geniuses. Is that it?
Yeah, I think it's like you have these, maybe it's 5 or 6 gears, but it kind of takes like any process through from deal origination or idea origination to implementation. I think the first one is like, I actually do okay in this. Actually, my partners are better at like these crazy ideas. The second one is what I do well at, which is judgment. When somebody has we don't want to stifle ideas, right? You never do that. But sometimes you need a person on the team, and I guess that's me to say, that's stupid. We're
Yeah.
not going to do that. We're not going to waste our team's bandwidth or our bandwidth. But then I think the other gears is, you need the operator, create the SOPs, put in the action, but then you need the people person, right?
Yeah.
To get the
Raise the
team.
money or motivate everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is 6 working genius. I just searched out. I was leaving somebody out. I only said 5, but that book
Yeah.
was pretty eye opening. Even in your house, like having a family, you're like, oh, I can see those item that working in my home also. Just the different personality types that are, somebody's going to be the integrator, somebody's going to be the visionary. Like, hey, let's go take this trip. That's my wife. Like, let's do this big grandiose trip, but she just wants to get in the car and go. I'm like, well, we got to make a plan to get there and a budget and all these things to come together to be able to get there. Same thing in
Yeah.
an
And
office.
and that was where I actually did a workshop, like one of those Saturday morning workshops. I'm in like a business group like Vistage. It's kind of like EO IPO, but we do
Okay.
these different trainings, and they brought the spouses in. So we did just that, and that was eye-opening. It was not really work related. I mean, it had some application, but to understand, it sounds like you're kind of more the visionary, the crazy idea thinking,
No,
and
that's my
maybe
wife. I'm the
okay.
integrator. Get in and like, no, we got to have some rules here. But I'm the finisher too.
Yeah. So sometimes it works well when the person the person originates the idea and can get it going and then passes it off to the other partner. Sounds like you're more, it's like you have to kind of hot potato it a couple of times, which isn't as efficient, which trainings like this where you are made more self-aware of it and now appreciate how the other person are pretty valuable.
Well, and I think you kind of talked about moving into leaner times for a little bit. Leaner times, you may need to put on more hats. Or early on, when you first start, you're maybe wearing every hat, trying to do all those roles. But then you realize I don't like doing a couple of these things, even though I'll do them, but I'm not going to do them as well as somebody who loves that section. So that's awesome. So what are
Yeah.
some of the go ahead?
And a couple other more ideas there. When times are good, everybody's winning. So you can have like the worst strategy. I'm thinking
Yeah.
like basketball, right? You can have the worst strategy, just chuck up threes. But if the threes are going in and everybody's winning, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And in business, you have somebody create up an idea. Could be a really bad idea, but in good times, even good deals stick or good bad ideas stick.
Oh, good point. Yeah, there was that early teen or mid teens time, I think was, you could almost buy a deal, go to sleep and wake up and it was gonna be successful. So yeah, you're exactly right. But now we're in that time where you have to find your lanes and not you, not lanes, but your driving lanes to make things be more efficient. So through this process, what has been one or two of your biggest challenges you've had to overcome, even going back to your W-2 time or as a real estate investor, fund capital raiser? What something challenging that you've been able to overcome?
I mean, something I'm sort of working on is being a better CEO, better leader. I've always I'm not the most empathetic person. I mean, I guess that's why I'm more of an operator. Um, and maybe because I work so hard, I assume everybody's going to do it the way I want to do it or work just as hard. And I don't fault people for that. I get it. If you're not the owner, you don't have an ownership
Sure.
mentality. But that's something, my first job for at least, I mean, almost a decade, I worked for the railroad. And if people aren't familiar how the railroad works, is that's where the term railroaded comes from. right? They kind of just bamboozled you. They're extremely big I mean, shoot, what is it? Norfolk Southern and UP are going to do a merge. I mean, that's a monopoly if you ask me. Um, yeah, they own the most land, I think, in America, and that was kind of where I cut my teeth being a leader, right? Watching my directors and upper management, how they did things, how they interacted with cities, in private people. Person goes through a crossing and their car breaks because the rail is a little high. Too bad, so sad. Go pound sand, right?
Yeah. Oh, they're not giving you. They're the big dog, and a small person's not going to get anything, or their deeper pockets will outlast a person on that situation. That stinks. Well, that's great working to be a CEO, because I know that is, the longer you get into this, you want to start delegating that stuff down and more directing traffic and kind of herding things in the right direction. And I can be this way too. Is like, you're like, I want to get it done. I can get in there and get that done faster by myself, but I need to pass it on to somebody else on my team, and trust that, that kind of comes to the 80/20 rule. They may only do it at 80% as well as I will, but I want to get them better. But then I'm focusing my time, or you're focusing your time on something that's more valuable for the company or for your business. So it sounds like things are going well in your world right now, starting to improve a little bit. So, as your are you looking at any new things to invest in? What are you looking for, going forward into the future in the next 6-12 months?
Yeah, I mean, multifamily real estate, I mean, just saying high level, right? I mean, every deal is specific, right? Where you buy from a certain seller and the numbers could work. But right now it's tough. Taxes, insurance. I mean, one of my properties, like we bought it at $150,000 a year taxes, and now the damn thing is at 450
Wow,
a
triple.
year.
That's
Um,
brutal.
Insurance obviously went up. I think everybody kind of now understands that insurance is sky high, where people thought we were making it up 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and then your debt service, right? Obviously, interest rates are higher. So between those three big line items on your P&L, like there went a lot of buffer right there. No different when I was buying single family homes in 2009 to 2015. Like I could buy a nice Class B property in Birmingham for 80 grand that rented for 900,000 a month.
Wow.
Now
Nice.
that thing is 140 grand and it just absolutely will not cash flow. Unless you buy the thing outright, right? Cash, but I don't know if that's the best
Yeah.
strategy. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, unless you got assumable debt or some kind of outrageous pickup price, it's going to be hard to make deals work. So every deal is specific, right? You underwrite every single deal, but this
Sure.
is kind of where what I'm realizing and watching the puck go is like to find yield, get alpha is what we're all searching for. You have to go to more audacious business plans. And going back to the single family home turnkey rentals, that ship has sailed. After 2016, you can't just buy hope and pray, rent the property and make 10%. No way. Absolutely not. And now same could be said for buying 100, 200 unit apartment complex, put a little bit lipstick on the pig model. You
No.
have to go to bigger, audacious business plans, which in 2020 we started to develop, large multifamily. We did a 220 unit and then a 300 unit the year
Nice.
after. But now, even opening things up. I mean, you and I kind of hang out in these investor circles, and I think a lot of us are real estate guys, but
Sure.
a lot of us, we kind of follow what our peers do, right? And some of them are getting in more into private equity, buying businesses. Obviously, a lot more riskier. I think the upside is there. The question is it a good risk adjusted return? Every deal is different, but that is
Sure.
where we're looking at, in addition these days, essentially having more lobster traps out there as opposed to just Class B multifamily, 250 unit in Texas with, putting in new flooring
5,000. Yeah.
appliances, you name it, right?
No, it's definitely looking in different ways, but it's also trying to, kiss enough frogs, or you look under enough rocks that trying to find something that'll work, because you hit on a lot of things. Interest rates, taxes, insurance are all up. So the people that bought these 2 or 3 years ago, they bought it with maybe a lower basis, those expenses were lower, and they paid a little more. So it's kind of like the single family world. They're stuck right now. A single family person has such a great interest rate. They don't want to sell their home in a home owner occupied because they're in a 3 interest rate and they're going to go to a 6 or 7 or something higher. So I think we have a lot of people that are locked in on selling also. So good stuff. Well, Lane, thank you so much for joining today and sharing some of your insights and tips. If people wanted to get in contact with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, they can shoot me an email, lane@thewealthelevator.com.
Awesome. And we'll share that. Thanks again for joining. It's great to have you. Great to catch up. Stop.
Thanks for listening to the Flex Forward podcast. If you've got grit, growth, and a great story, visit flexforwardpodcast.com/guest to apply and join us on the show.